All right, strap in. We're going deep today.
Deeper than usual.
Yeah, I think so. Into a conversation that really, I don't know, kind of shakes things up.
Ooh.
How we view, like, truth and reality,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So we're going back a bit, 1975, to Brockwood Park.
Setting the scene.
Yeah, it was this fascinating chat between J. Krishnamurti, he's a philosopher,
Big name.
right, and David Bohm, he's a physicist.
So we've got like inner world, outer world.
Exactly. And there's actually a third person, Dr. Parchure,
Yeah.
adding even more to the mix.
Okay, so what's the core of this deep dive then? What were they wrestling with?
Well, the big question is, if truth is out there, beyond our everyday reality, how do we act in truth?
Within that reality.
Yeah, can we even live in truth?
Right.
I mean, it's a question I think we all bump into at some point, right?
Parchure, that's a big one.
And they jump right in. They're not messing around. They're saying truth and reality, two separate things.
Not the same at all.
They're saying reality, like what we experience day to day, it's actually thought. Yeah, like our perceptions, experiences, all shaped by our minds constantly.
So reality is kind of this shifting thing.
Yeah.
Molded by us.
That's it. Ever-changing, based on our mental filters
Wow.
and truth. Totally different story. It's like timeless, unchanging.
Not affected by anything?
Yeah, like whole and complete. It's beyond our little thought bubbles,
Existing outside of that reality we were just talking about.
Exactly. Now, get this. They say perception itself, the act of seeing, can be an act of truth.
Whoa, hold on. That's a big statement.
Right. Mind-blowing. They're suggesting that when we really see something...
Not just glancing at it.
No, but like truly see it, without all the baggage.
Baggage.
Past memories, worries about the future, all that mental clutter. That's seeing, that's action.
Action in the present moment.
Yes, being totally with what is.
So just by seeing clearly, we're tapping into something deeper.
That's what they're saying. Powerful, right? Makes you rethink how we look at the world.
It really does. Are we truly seeing or just projecting what we already think?
Good question. Then they bring in this idea of intelligence.
Intelligence as in book smarts.
Not quite. They define it as, like, the bridge between truth and reality.
Okay, so what does that kind of intelligence look like?
It's about seeing clearly, for sure, but then acting in harmony with what you see is true.
So not just knowing stuff, but putting wisdom into practice.
Exactly. Navigating life's messiness without getting lost in our own heads,
Makes sense.
Makes you think, what does it mean to act intelligently in my own life? What would that look like?
Deep stuff. And then there's this whole concept of substance they get into.
Yeah, like what we look for in the world, right? Something solid, permanent.
Something to ground us.
Yes. That sense of like, here's something I can hold on to amidst all the chaos.
A foundation.
Right. But here's the twist. They say true substance. It's not in those fleeting things. It's in truth itself.
Whoa. So don't look to possessions, achievements for that solidity.
Nope. Look to truth. It's like they're flipping the script on where to find our grounding.
Radical shift in thinking, for sure. Finding stability in something beyond what we can touch or see.
Totally. And then they go on to talk about love and compassion.
Interesting. I wonder how those tie into truth.
Well, they point out the limitations of how we usually view love.
Limitations? How so?
Like, it's often rooted in attachment dependency.
So it's subject to change, just like everything else in the realm of reality.
Exactly. It's conditional, bound by all that impermanence around us.
And they contrast this with?
True love. They say it comes from seeing and acting in truth. A compassion that doesn't depend on any specific person or situation.
Wow. Big questions arise from that.
Right. Is that even possible? And if it is, how does it change our relationships, our actions, everything?
Questions worth exploring for sure.
Yeah, and it leads to another challenge they bring up. How do we communicate truth to others? Especially when
they're stuck in their own way of seeing things.
Exactly, like entrenched in their own little reality bubbles.
It's almost like, I don't know, trying to describe a color to someone who's been blind their whole life.
Perfect analogy. They might get the concept, but they can't truly grasp it.
Krishnamurti and Bohm, they really wrestled with this.
They did. They talk about the limitations of language.
Words can only take us so far.
Right. They say we need compassion, but also this fierce energy.
A burning desire to help others see beyond their limited view.
Like a teacher who sees potential in a student, even when the student doesn't see it in themselves.
Right, that combination of patience and passion to awaken something in someone else.
And they emphasize it all starts with recognizing distortions.
In ourselves and in the world around us.
Yeah, that's key to finding freedom. And speaking of freedom, they bring up this idea of space.
Not like outer space.
No, mental space. An inner sanctuary.
A place of stillness amidst all the mental noise and emotions.
Exactly. They talk about cultivating emptiness.
Emptiness.
Yeah, freedom from all that mental clutter, the thoughts, problems, attachments.
So much of that fills our minds.
Yeah, it does. They say in that emptiness, that's where truth can really operate, allowing us to see clearly and act intelligently.
It's so true, especially in our world today. So much coming at us constantly.
Makes finding that inner stillness even more vital, you know?
And it leads us to the last point they discuss in this first part, the nature of thought itself.
Our thoughts, they can be tricky.
You can.
They make this observation thought without truth guiding it.
What happens then?
It becomes divisive, distorting.
So if we just let our thoughts run wild,
We end up further from what's true
they can create illusions, trap us in fear and desire, all that.
and prevent us from seeing clearly.
But when thought is aligned with truth,
Then it becomes something else.
a tool for clear perception, for intelligent action.
It's about harnessing that power without letting it control us, right?
Exactly. Which begs the question for all of us, what role do our thoughts play?
Are they helping us see clearly or leading us astray? And even bigger, how do we change that relationship with thought?
So it becomes an instrument for truth, not a source of distortion.
Great questions to ponder. And this is just the beginning.
The tip of the iceberg.
Krishnamurti and Bohm, they go even deeper in the next part. The insights are incredible.
I'm ready. Let's keep going.
I am too. Buckle up.
All right. Picking up where we left off, Krishnamurti and Bohm, they really get into it now.
Do it.
Yeah, like what it actually means to live in truth, to put it into practice.
Sounds challenging.
It is. They don't sugarcoat it. One of the first things they point out is this tendency we have
What tendency?
to look outside ourselves for answers.
Instead of looking within.
Yeah, we want validation, direction from others, some external source.
Like hoping someone will just hand us the map to enlightenment.
Exactly. Krishnamurti actually, he uses this great analogy.
Oh.
People come to him all the time looking for a path, a formula.
As if he's got the secret, right?
Right. And he's like, nope, can't give you that.
True understanding, it's not a handout.
It's got to come from within, from your own journey.
Can't outsource self-discovery.
Exactly. It's about recognizing truth is not something you get, it's a way of being.
How you see, how you act in the world.
And this leads to another point they make about seeing the falseness of our divisions.
Divisions?
Yeah, like the ones we create between us and others.
Or between truth and reality.
Between the observer and what's observed, all these boundaries.
And those are illusions.
That's what they're saying, preventing us from seeing clearly.
So truth is...
Indivisible, whole, it's our thinking that fragments everything.
So how do we break free from that kind of thinking? See that wholeness?
Krishnamurti suggests, first, you got to recognize what's distorting things.
In the field of reality, right.
Yeah, the prejudices, fears, desires, attachments.
All those things that cloud how we see.
It's like becoming aware of the filters we're looking through.
And how they affect our thoughts, our actions.
Right, and that awareness. That's the seed of truth, they say.
The beginning of the journey.
Towards wholeness. Now, they also talk about understanding, true understanding.
What about it?
It comes in a flash, they say. No buildup, just bam.
That's not how we usually think about learning, right?
No, we think it's step by step.
Gradual.
But true seeing, that's instant.
Like a sudden shift, everything clicks into place.
Precisely. And this is important. They say, don't try to explain it.
Explain the experience of seeing.
Yeah, resist that urge. Don't analyze, dissect it.
Just be with it.
Let it unfold, no interference from thought.
Because the moment you try to grab it, it's gone.
Back to that realm of thought, division, moving away from the experience itself.
They also talk about, the challenge of communicating this to others.
Oh, yeah, especially to people stuck in their own way of seeing things.
Deeply entrenched.
And this is where compassion comes in.
But also energy, passion.
They acknowledge there's resistance, people attached to their beliefs.
It's like trying to wake someone up from a dream.
They might cling to it, even if it's an illusion.
Familiar, right?
Exactly. And we can't force understanding.
You can only create the space for it.
Share what you see, but it's up to them whether they're ready.
Plant the seed, let it grow.
Exactly. And this brings us back to space, that concept.
Mental space.
That emptiness within the mind.
Clearing out the clutter, all the thoughts and problems.
So truth can have room to breathe.
It's like, creating a clearing in a dense forest.
Love that image. So light can come through.
They say that space, it's not separate from truth.
It is the ground of truth.
Where it operates, allowing us to see clearly act intelligently. This makes me think of meditation, mindfulness practices, creating that space to be present.
Without judgment. Now, get this. They say reality ultimately is no thing.
Wait, how can reality be no thing?
Right. It seems to contradict everything.
The world feels pretty solid.
They're pointing to the fact that what we perceive,
It's a construct of our minds.
thoughts, perceptions, interpretations.
Not some independent thing out there.
It's like, I don't know, a map versus the actual territory.
The map's useful, but it's not the real thing.
Exactly. And they're saying when we cling to the map,
Our limited view.
we create separation, distortion.
But when we see reality is no thing,
We open up to something deeper.
wholeness, interconnectedness.
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is, but it's like there's more to reality than meets the eye.
A whole other dimension, accessible when we let go of those fixed perceptions.
And then they talk about space, how it relates to thought,
Space, not as something that divides.
that unites
It's the ground from which everything arises.
both thought and reality.
Like the canvas for the painting of our experience.
Beautiful way to put it. They say this space, it's not empty,
Not in the sense of lacking something.
but empty of limitations, distortions,
Created by thought. Pure potential.
where truth can be itself. They say there are two kinds of space,
Two kinds.
the space that divides and the space that unites.
Okay, so the dividing space.
That's the space of thought.
Judgments, comparisons, all that.
Ego, illusion,
And the space that unites.
pure awareness, wholeness, interconnectedness,
So we need to shift our focus.
from dividing to uniting.
Cultivate that inner space where truth can operate.
How do we actually do that? Are there steps?
They offer some guidance.
Okay, I'm listening.
First, become aware of thought itself, how it can distort things.
So our thoughts, they create illusions
Keep us from seeing clearly, trap us in suffering.
in thought when it's not guided by truth.
Inherently divisive, they say.
A tool, but it can be used destructively.
We gotta learn to use it wisely.
Master our thoughts, not let them master us.
And that mastery comes from cultivating that inner space.
That emptiness.
Not getting caught up in the details, the worries.
Decluttering the mental space.
Meditation, they say, is a powerful tool for that.
Training the mind to be still.
Observe without judgment.
This is making me question everything. Like I'm seeing the world with new eyes.
That's the point. These conversations, they shake us up.
Open us to new possibilities.
Now, they also make this distinction, content of thought versus how thought operates.
Interesting. So it's not the specific thoughts themselves.
Not necessarily. It's the way thought functions.
To divide, compare, judge, create separation.
That's what distorts truth.
So it's not about controlling our thoughts.
But becoming aware of the patterns.
How our minds create conflict, separation.
And that awareness, that's the key to freedom.
When we see how divisive thought is,
We naturally create space for truth.
they're saying truth isn't something you seek.
It reveals itself when the mind is still.
When thought isn't interfering.
And perceiving truth, it's not passive.
Acting.
Seeing is doing. Seeing truth, you're already acting in line with it.
So not just knowing it, but embodying it.
Living it, expressing it through action.
Then they talk about the function of thought, what it's really for. Not just problem solving, right?
There's a deeper purpose.
To align with truth.
Express intelligence in the world.
I love how they define intelligence.
It's about harmony with truth.
Not about being clever or knowing a lot of facts.
It's using thought to navigate.
Without getting lost in all the distortions. To act in ways that are beneficial.
Thought can be a servant or a master. We choose
Use it in service of truth.
to create a better world.
More just, compassionate. This is shifting my whole view of what a meaningful life is.
It's not about possessions, external success.
It's about truth, intelligence, contributing to the well-being of everything.
Beautifully put. Stepping into a new way of being.
Grounded in truth, guided by intelligence, full of compassion.
And towards the end here, they talk about energy.
Energy. How does that fit in?
They say, seeing the distortion, the falseness of our divisions.
Recognizing interconnectedness, all that very act of seeing generates energy.
It's not about mustering up energy through effort.
No, it's about letting the energy of truth flow through you.
As you see things more clearly.
Like a dormant force that gets
And
awakened.
tapping into something already there.
The power of aligning with truth.
Not forcing, but allowing, surrendering.
Opening ourselves to what is.
We have access to this energy beyond our individual willpower. And that energy can transform everything.
Fuel our actions, Inspire creativity.
Guide us towards a more compassionate way of being.
This is so inspiring, like a new path opening up.
The power of these insights.
When we see through the lens of truth, everything changes.
And in the next part, they go even deeper into energy.
Its relationship to thought, desire, action.
They also raise questions about language, communicating truth.
Ready to continue the journey. All right, we're back, diving into the final part of this conversation between Krishnamurti and Bohm.
And it feels like things are getting even more, I don't know, subtle as they grapple with how to even talk about these truths.
Yeah, throughout the whole thing, they keep saying words are limited,
They can only point towards truth.
not fully capture it.
Like, how would you describe a taste of chocolate to someone who's never tasted it?
You can try, but...
Words only go so far.
Right. So much of this seems to be about direct experience, not just thinking about it.
Going beyond the intellectual to something deeper.
And even when thought tries to grasp truth, they're saying it distorts things.
It does. It's like trying to hold water in your hands.
The tighter you squeeze.
The more slips through.
Krishnamurti and Bohm, they're really emphasizing truth isn't something to be grasped or defined.
It's to be experienced, lived.
Embodied, yeah. Not about having knowledge about truth.
But letting it change you, change how you are in the world.
That's a good way to put it.
And this brings us to something interesting they talk about, the role of the teacher.
The teacher.
Yeah, they say a true teacher doesn't just give you information.
They help you uncover what's already inside you.
Exactly. So it's less about facts and figures.
More about learning to see, to be present in each moment.
True learning becomes unlearning, in a way.
Letting go of those beliefs and assumptions that block our perception.
Creating space for truth to show itself.
This whole thing about thought being a distorting factor, that really resonated with me.
It's so easy to get lost in our thoughts.
Believe their reality.
Forget there's something deeper.
They keep coming back to this idea of inner space as the antidote.
That emptiness, where truth can operate freely.
But it's not about checking out of the world, right?
No. It's about creating that space within.
To see your thoughts, your emotions clearly.
Without being swept away by them.
Developing that inner observer, the witness.
Who isn't caught up in all the drama playing out.
And from that stillness, you can see everything differently.
To the world, yourself, all of it.
What I find amazing is they're saying we don't have to search for truth.
It's already there.
When the mind is quiet, when we stop clinging to our limited views.
Like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
It applies to truth too, it seems.
Truth is always present.
But we need to quiet down to perceive it.
And it's not just about grasping it intellectually.
Right. They're saying seeing truth is active.
Seeing is doing.
You see it, you're already acting in accordance with it.
Walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Living in alignment with what you see is true.
They also talk about the difference between thought and truth.
Thought being divisive, truth being whole.
Two totally different ways of experiencing reality.
Our minds, they like to break things down into categories, create separation.
Duality.
But truth, it's about unity, interconnectedness.
It makes me think of that quote, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there.
Yes. Stepping outside the limits of our thinking to experience that wholeness.
And they end with this image, the mind as a space.
A space that can be distorted or clear.
A source of suffering or freedom.
It feels like we have a choice in every moment.
To cling to our limited view.
Or open ourselves to the power of truth.
And that choice, I think, is what this whole deep dive is about.
Inviting us to see in a new way.
To be in a new way, grounded in truth.
Guided by intelligence and full of compassion.
So as you go about your day, consider this. What does it mean for you to act in truth? How might your life be different if you let truth be your guide?